2 words. This time, the boy in white said them to Sofia in the woods. And those 2 words just confirmed something about From that changes every single scene you've ever watched. The residents of Fromville were never haunted. They were losing. There's a difference. A haunting has no win condition. You just suffer until it lets you go, or it doesn't. This has a win condition. It has rules, it has pieces, and it has 2 opponents who have been running this exact contest for longer than anyone trapped in that town has been alive. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Elgen's death was the most important move anyone has made in the entire history of this game. Not because he survived, because he refused. Picture this exactly. The woods, dark. Sofia walking between trees, carrying a bag, not floating, not appearing from nowhere, walking like a person in real clothes, moving the slow way. The boy in white steps out. They face each other, and what follows is the most plain-spoken exchange this show has ever produced. He says, "They have the bones." She doesn't panic, doesn't threaten, doesn't perform. She answers with one line, "The bottle tree is gone." He says, "You're going to lose this time." She tips the talismans into the tree. I guess we'll see. Now, most viewers heard that as cryptic supernatural dialogue. It isn't. Listen to the shape of it. He names a piece on the board. She names one back. He delivers a verdict. She acknowledges it without conceding. That's not a monster threatening a guardian. That's 2 opponents reading a scoreboard after a long game who have done this before. Many times. And here's the proof. Sitting in plain sight on screen. Sofia tells the residents directly, "It matters how you do something, not just what you do." That's not the language of a haunting. Ghosts don't care about technique. That's the language of a game with rules. She follows it by telling them, the town runs on rituals, procedures, conditions that must be met in order or they fail. That's confirmed. On screen, real. What it means that Sofia's been reading the residents the rulebook to their own game, confident that knowing the rules wouldn't save them because they still didn't know they were playing it. That part's mine. Hold on to that distinction. We'll come back to it. Back up. This time, you only say this time when there were other times. With 2 words, the boy in white just confirmed this exact contest between these exact 2 players has been run before. Not once, many times. Here's what that means for every resident who's ever been trapped in Fromville. They didn't lose because they were doomed. They lost because they were pieces who didn't know they were playing. Victor survived 40 years in an empty town, not because the curse kept him, because his side lost. And a game you lose is a game you could have won. Every death, every disappearance, every empty house Victor drew from memory wasn't fate. It was a score. 4 seasons. We called this a haunting. Analyzed it like a haunting. Tried to survive it like a haunting. It was never a haunting. It was a match. And we've been watching the wrong side win over and over without realizing the other side even existed. One more thing that's on screen before we move. The boy in white tells Tabitha she's doing something this cycle that's never been done before, and he says it smiling. That's confirmed. Real. A player who's won the same match 100 times isn't afraid of a new move. He's delighted by it. That's the single most game-like moment this show has produced. And it's the last piece of confirmed we need before the theory takes over. Everything from here is my read of the board. I'll flag it again when it matters most. Here's where it gets structural. Both players are bound. Not just the residents, both of them. And the rules binding them are mirror images of each other. Watch what the man in yellow actually cannot do. For all his power, he almost never kills directly. He works through bargains, through consent, through wearing someone down until they let him in. Sarah whispered into submission. Clara, a deal sealed in blood. Henry drugged until killing felt like escape. He can only wear the faces of people who died in the town. When he moves through Fromville in daylight, he walks in real clothes, like a man. A being with no rules wouldn't need a disguise. He needs one because the board won't let him simply be what he is. He has to be invited. He has to be agreed to. Now look at the boy in white. He warned Victor about the bottle tree. He shoved Tabitha out of the lighthouse at the 1 second it mattered. He shows up at the exact moment. A choice is being made, and then he has to wait. He never forces anything. never grabs the axe out of someone's hand, never walks into the town square and says the truth plainly. He stands at the edge of decisions, offers, and lives with whatever the residents choose. That's not weakness, that's a rule. The good player is only allowed to offer a choice. He's never allowed to make it for you. His opponent can deceive, coerce, wear a friendly face, and lie without consequence. He can only whisper the truth and hope someone's listening. Same game, one hand tied behind his back. And here's the detail almost everyone missed. The most powerful entity in this show spent the finale going door to door. When Sofia decides it's time to end the town, she doesn't wave a hand and switch the protection off. She doesn't move through Fromville like a storm. She walks, house to house, Clara beside her, physically removing each talisman one at a time, placing them in a bag. Stop right there. Why? If this were a haunting, if she were an unconstrained force, she'd just turn the protection off. She can't. The talismans were still working. She had to remove them manually, the way you'd take an opponent's pieces off the board one by one, because the rules won't let her declare the game over before the procedure is complete. That bag isn't loot. It's a stack of captured pieces. The most important supernatural entity in this entire show spent her winning moment doing janitorial work, because even she has to obey the procedure. There is no clearer proof this is a game with rules than the villain being forced to play by them at the exact moment she's winning. So score the finale the way they'd score it in the woods. Bones, residents, bottle tree, yellow. Every talisman, yellow. Season 4 ends with the board tilted hard toward yellow. The residents captured one piece and don't know how to use it. They gave away everything keeping them alive to get it. They captured a pawn and handed away a queen. So before Elgen, because this next part is the part I could be wrong about, everything you've heard so far, the dialogue, the rituals line, the smile, the talisman walk, that's all on screen. You can pause and check it yourself. The game, the idea that it's structured, that there are two bound opponents, that the residents have been losing a match they never knew they were playing, that's the story I think the evidence points to. It's not in a script. If Season 5 proves me wrong, I'll be the first one back here saying so. But I think the next scene is where that theory either earns its keep or falls apart. Watch it with me. Elgen refused. That's it. That's the sentence. A man this show spent 2 seasons letting us underestimate, looked at the most powerful entity in his world, heard the deal, and said no. And it enrages her. Picture what Sofia expected walking in. She's run this exact play before, many times. And in every cycle before this one, someone takes the deal. Help me, and you go home. It works because it's the most human offer there is. You're suffering. You want out. Here's the door. So picture the room. Elgen on his knees, breathing hard, blood already on him from what's just happened. Sofia crouching to his level, voice gone soft, and almost the same voice that's worked 100 times before. She makes the offer. He looks at her, not away, at her. And instead of answering her, he starts praying. Watch what happens to her face. It doesn't read as victory. It reads as confusion first, like she's run this line and gotten a response that isn't in the script. Then it curdles into something else. She kills him with her bare hands, squeezing until he bleeds from the eyes. And there's nothing efficient about it. This isn't a being disposing of an obstacle. This is rage, because his refusal is the one thing the deal was never built to allow for. That death isn't just tragedy. That's a piece refusing the move it was supposed to make. The first crack in a strategy that's worked every single time before. For as long as this game's been running, Elgen didn't beat the game, but he made a move it didn't account for. Freely, knowing the cost. A man dying with that much dignity is, in the cold language of the board, a player the man in yellow couldn't control. And in a game, this entity wins entirely through control. That should terrify it. The boy in white says, "I've always admired your optimism." She says, "I guess we'll see." He isn't optimistic because the residents are winning. They're not, they're down most of their pieces. He's optimistic because, for the first time, a few of them started moving themselves. Here's what I think Season 5 actually is. Not a final season of survival horror, the first season, where the residents stop trying to escape the board and start trying to win it. Everything that's kept the man in yellow winning depends on the residents not knowing the rules. The deceptions only work on people who think they're in a haunting. The moment they understand there's a win condition that this can be played, and played well, they stop being things that get moved. They start being players. The boy in white has been waiting, maybe for centuries, for the side he's bound to help to finally pick up its own pieces. Elgen picked up his. Tabitha did something that's never been done before. Even Boyd, even pulling up that tree by mistake, was a move nobody programmed him to make. For the first time, a few of them stopped following someone else's game plan. That's the crack in the wall. That's why he said you're going to lose this time, not as a prophecy, as a read of the board. Back to the woods. The bag of talismans. Two opponents standing in the dark, tallying the board like the oldest players in the world. You're going to lose this time. I guess we'll see. She isn't wrong to be confident she has the bottle tree, every talisman, and she's won this exact match more times than anyone alive can count. But he isn't wrong either, because he's looking at something she isn't. Not the pieces, not the score. He's looking at the players. And for the first time, the players are looking back. Elgen refused. Tabitha broke the pattern. The bones are in the right hands. And somewhere in a town without talismans, without a bottle tree, without any of the protection that's kept people alive for 4 seasons, the residents of Fromville are about to discover something that changes everything. Not what is haunting this town, who is playing it, and what happens the day the pieces finally learn the rules.